Today is a very exciting day for me because my greenhouse plastic came, and so I'm going to build an in-the-garden greenhouse. I've already purchased the 2x4s and 1x2s that I need to do this, and so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this 2x4 as a vertical corner brace for all four corners. Make sure it's square and level, and get that screwed in. I'll put it about a foot down into the ground so it's nice and secure, so the plastic has some support when the wind blows on it. I dug the hole, put the 2x4 in it. Before I did that, I put 4 screws, 3-inch galvanized in the top corner. I screwed in then the top corner here, and then I used my level to level the board on this side and this side. When I had it leveled, I filled in the hole with the dirt, covered back up. Now I'm ready to do the same thing 3 more times. Now that I have all 4 corner posts then, which are 2x4s, it's time to go get the kids to help me get the plastic up on top. But before I do that, I want to explain why I am building this in-garden greenhouse. So it's half a greenhouse and half a sun block and wind block. So during the winter, we'll have the plastic up here to protect the plants from wind and really cold weather. I've noticed a dramatic difference between the plants that are covered and the plants that aren't covered in the winter because of the wind and the cold. So that'll help that. I'll also be able to get my plants in the ground sooner because by having it as a greenhouse, the soil will warm up sooner and I'll be able to get the plants out here. That means I'll be able to get more production because I can plant my plants earlier. During the summer, in order to keep the birds out and protect the plants from wind and sun, I'll put the garden fabric over this just like I will the plastic. So I really have year-round protection for all my plants, and I didn't have to build a greenhouse, didn't have to go through the expense of building a greenhouse, and didn't have to have the real estate to build a greenhouse. It's all right in the garden. After getting the 4 corner posts put in, I also put a center brace in vertically just like the others to support the plastic if the wind blows against it from the side. Then with the help of my children, we put the plastic over and just kind of let it come down on both sides, and I took my measurements. I actually found that the plastic was about 18 inches too long on either side, but I decided to leave that there in case we want to cover the plastic during heavy windstorms to keep it down solid. But what we have here right now, I have some 1x2s that are 8 feet long. I took one of the 1x2s, cut it in half so it's 4 feet long, and that way it's staggered. This one here is 4 feet long on the inside. You can see where it stops there. And then this one here is 8 feet long. And that way I don't have a seam in the same place on the inside and the outside. So this really makes it strong. I used galvanized 1.5-inch nails, and it worked out great. So this piece of wood here holds the plastic down nice and solid. It doesn't flap around a lot in the wind, and it does a great job. I'll determine later whether I'm going to keep this extra 18 inches on both sides, but for now, that's where I have it. And typically I have it just tucked in on the inside so it's not in the walkway. To close the ends, I just take the sides, pull them together to the center. I take these 2-inch clamps, kind of roll it all together and just clamp it together here, and it works really well. Keeps it nice and solid. There isn't a lot of things to flap around in here, and it's going to withstand any amount of wind that we would typically see throughout the year. So that's going to work really great. I was a little concerned about the plastic hitting this corner here, and it was putting pressure, and it would definitely rip through in just a little bit of time. I took an old washcloth, cut it into 4 pieces, folded it over, and just stapled it on the corner, and that makes a big difference on that corner not getting a lot of pressure. So I recommend you do something if you put the board like I have it here. Standing inside of here right now, it's amazingly warm. It's not too hot. Outside it's pretty cold. I've got my winter clothes on and a jacket, but inside here it's wonderful. It's nice and humid, so the plants are getting all the water that they need, and it's nice and warm. You'll notice some rope hanging down here in 3 different locations. I measured in 3 feet from either side and then in the center, and I put up some rope. This is pretty soft poly rope. It won't fray. I also melted the ends of the rope so that it won't fray down there. And then I just tied a knot on the top of it, and through the plastic I nailed a hole into the 2x4 here, put the knot on there, and then about every 20 inches, pulled it snug, measured, and then tied a knot in here that won't come undone and won't slip. I did that all the way down, and this will allow me to roll up the plastic in hot days so that it doesn't get too hot in here. Let me show you how that works. I'm on the outside of the greenhouse now. I simply grab the 1x2s here, lift them up, and then I would grab the string under there and pull the string up and hook it onto the nail. So here I've lifted up on this end and hooked it up to the very first loop I have here on the end of the rope, on the same nail right there. And I'll just do the same thing going down. Here I have it lifted up on all three strings, and as you can see I have an additional 1, 2, and 3 locations that I can raise this up even higher. So I'm going to go ahead and raise it all the way up. There you have it, raised all the way up, and you can do it on both sides or one side depending on what the weather conditions are at your location for that time. So this is what I would use during winter in cold weather, and then during the summer I would put a cloth over it to protect it from the wind and also from insects and also from the heat of the sun. So I can raise it up here just to let air come through but keep the sun off, so we've got the cover over the top, or I can let it all the way down and keep the birds and the insects and the wind off the plants. Having the plants protected from the elements makes a huge difference in the productivity and health of the plants. So if you're growing and you have the opportunity to protect your plants, I would highly recommend that you do that. I'm very pleased the way this project has turned out. Everything I do with the Mittleider method proves to me once again how complete the method is and how successful it is. This isn't by chance. It's the result of science and nature in over 30 countries for over the last 65 years. If you really want high production, healthy plants, I encourage you to look into the Mittleider gardening method. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. And if you build an in-the-garden greenhouse, you'll be able to plant earlier, protect your plants, and keep the plants growing longer and have greater yields.